Hi guys, and welcome to Fantasy Forge channel. This first series of videos will detail how I printed, assembled and painted the 10-foot long quarter scale T-Rex using an Anycubic Chiron printer and 30 kilos of ZYLTech's ceramic white PLA. Hope you enjoy. This quarter scale 10-foot long T-Rex was printed on an unmodified Anycubic printer. I spent more than 40 hours in Meshmixer and Cura cutting the original STL file into 20 pieces so that I could print the maximum size on the printer. I was also very careful to orientate the piece in the 400 by 400 build area in Cura so as to minimize the supports needed. In fact, only a very few pieces needed support at all. I estimated I saved more than 4 kilos of filament and around a week's print time by doing this. It's extremely important when you go into Cura to make sure that you orientate the pieces to minimize the amount of support you need. It will save you a lot of time and money. Total print time for the T-Rex was 2,000 hours, or almost 84 days, including removal of each piece and switching out spools of filament. I did find one great time saver, and that was to use 5 kilogram spools of filament. Before using those 5 kilo spools, I would waste time checking and rechecking the amount of filament left on each spool. Total waste of time. With the 5 kilo spools, I had 5, 6, sometimes 7 days without having to check anything. I should note that although the Chiron has a filament out sensor, mine was working intermittently, because the microswitch was probably faulty, and I wasn't going to trust it to such a large, expensive print. Now almost every part was printed at 50 millimeters per second speed and hot end temperature of 210 degrees. The bed was a standard 60 degree temperature, wall thickness 2 millimeters, and I only used an infill of 5%. Now the reason for the low infill was that I was going to fill some of the spaces with a low expansion foam. This foam would also help secure 5 and 10 millimeter rods into the parts to help join them together. And the 2 millimeter wall thickness gave a very strong structure. As I mentioned, the filament I used was purchased from ZYLTech, and this model used 30 kilograms of white ceramic filament, PLA. I was amazed that during the process I had 0 print failures, and the only time I had an issue was during a power outage while printing the head, and I was able to save that print by going into Cura, opening up the file again and dropping the Z-axis down by the amount that had already been printed. That dropped the file down below the bed and only left protruding above the bed the part that I needed. So Cura was able to slice that, and I was able to print it and join the two parts together. And it saved an 8-day print and about 3 kilograms of filament by doing that. Now, if you're lucky, you can manage to do that. It saves you a lot of time and effort. You will notice that in the scenes that you're watching at the moment, the print scenes, that there's a lump of wood placed up against one of the parts. That was purposely put there and hot glued in place at an early stage to stop wobble and any artifacts from the Z-axis while it was printing. Did a very good job, but as it had such a narrow base it needed some extra support, and rather than go in again and put supports in Cura, a little piece of wood and some hot glue worked really well. Now the next video is all about assembly, joining the 20 parts together and making this 10-foot long T-Rex strong enough to move around without falling apart. I hope you enjoyed this first video, and I'd like to see you again soon in the next. Take care.